Community Media.
I always watch the levels. Right.
Welcome.
Again.
And we're back for another podcast
With
/ reflective video.
With added visuals.
Added visuals. Nice.
Right.
Okay.
Let's get into it. So, what have you learned?
On the technology side of things,
Mm-hmm.
without trying to be a big head, mate, I don't really feel I've learnt a whole lot more than what I already know in terms of...
No.
I've had this microphone for a good few years. My mum and dad bought it for me at Christmas a long time ago. I know how it works, and I know the programs that I used to run it on. So in the technology side, I probably haven't learnt a great deal.
Whereas for me,
Yep.
I've never used any of that stuff.
Right.
The stuff we're using now even, I've never used any of it. So, podcasts in general, it's new to both of us. Podcast is new to both of us,
Sure.
obviously.
Yeah.
But the software, I had no idea.
So there you go,
Even
mate.
the hardware, software
Community
and hardware.
media says that I've shown you something, maybe.
There you go, mate. That's the, I've got to teach you
And then
something.
you've taught me some stuff, mate.
Oh, wow.
Always learning, mate. You know what I mean? Every day's a learning day.
Um,
But okay, so where I do feel I have sort of gained strengths that I didn't have before was sort of with... I've noticed now with community media, it's all sort of talk. It's all about the people that are involved.
mhm.
Obviously, everyone's got their different views and
It's all,
perspectives.
it's
on
all
the world.
inclusive. That's
Yeah, it's all. So
everyone can get involved.
everyone's got their own perceptions on the world
Yeah.
and how they get involved with different things. So I guess that's what makes the world, right?
Yeah, but what it does do, I guess, it allows the smaller men, if you will, not smaller men, what do you
Oh,
call
wow.
them? The ones who would have less of a chance to get their voice out there.
Okay, so it gives.
So community radio stations,
Sure.
podcasts.
Yeah.
People are hearing us because we're making a podcast. You know, that gives community media is giving people that option to be heard, to have their
Okay.
opinion out there. You know.
All I'm seeing from that is like anybody could do this, like absolutely anyone. But you still call that community media, right?
Yeah.
Anyone could do this. So
Absolutely. anyone.
Rob down the road, he doesn't even study at DMU, could be knocking out podcasts in his room every night. He's putting them on the internet for his own enjoyment. Who's listening?
His community, I guess.
Yeah, no, exactly. So
Yeah,
he can
yeah,
build up a
yeah,
fan
yeah.
base of his own, and I respect that, and I get that.
Yeah, which it connects it to social media as well, because that's where a lot of those communities come from anyway.
Okay,
Is online.
I'll give you that. That is one of the side of things that I did
There are,
learn a
there
little
are so
bit
many
from.
communities, aren't there, Jimin?
Sure.
Not just the
Yeah,
people-
we
not just the
mentioned in the
people who meet at
previous
cafe,
we
like-
mentioned in the previous podcast, it's the YouTubers, isn't it? So although it is a job for them, but they've sort of built up their own clientele, their own fan base, which then becomes their sort of
It's
community,
their
their
community, yeah.
world, which I think is quite cool.
Yeah.
And on the plus side, you get a bit of cash in your pocket from it. So I mean, that can't be a bad thing. But then again, at the same time, with community media, I think that it's always like what Rob says, isn't it? It's like you just got to get talking to people, and the best thing to do is just like have a cup of tea and a chin wag, mate. And
Exactly.
whilst doing that at the cafes, like these guys had some amazing stories, and these are people that you probably wouldn't.
It was quite nice to hear it as well, actually, from the older generations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because these are the sort of people that you wouldn't stop and talk to in the street, but in a scenario where you're in a cafe and you can have a sit down and a chat, and then you find out really that they're not too dissimilar from us.
No.
They've had their ups and downs.
But
They've
also,
had
not only can we learn from the older ones,
sure.
but a lot of them had sort of preconceived ideas of what young people would be like. Do you remember what she was saying? One of them was saying how they sort of can be intimidated by young people and that.
Right. Yeah.
But
Which
it's
is
a good
which
way to,
I can
it's
understand.
a good way to say, like, well, you shouldn't be, because we're not all like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and you have to combine the two for them to know that. Otherwise, they will just see some people walking on the street, which might be intimidating.
Right.
What's up or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they might be the
okay.
nicest guys ever.
Yeah, I
But
know.
you won't
So
know
you
that unless you get put in the situation where you are going to meet them, like the cafe. That would.
and for that reason alone, that is a good point. But
We broke a little stigma right there for her, didn't we? Because we weren't.
well, look, yeah, yeah. But even still, I don't. What I want to know really then is, again, this is not really reflective in any state, but I'm interested to see, and I guess it gets you thinking about it, so it's not a bad thing. But how do you break that stigma? How do we get more people in there? And obviously, social media was a big part of that. Like we started off the little media page, the little Instagram page, which Riaz then actually put in his blog. So
And
again,
he didn't even know who started that.
yeah, exactly. So
We
it's
haven't got our
completely
name on it.
anonymous.
Yeah.
But he does. So how cool is that in a sense? He doesn't know we've done it. We've created it, and he's then used it. But then little does he know that's the group project sort of thing that Rob was talking about. That's what I'm trying to get at. Right. Okay. So what I have learned from the community media cafes, right, is that well, I didn't watch a lot of news, or didn't really watch a lot of telly in the sort of build in the year that I had before I came to university. It was a very secluded lifestyle for myself. I had a routine. I stuck to it. I was by the books. Never watched a lot of telly. Never read books. didn't really, you know what I mean? Like, you scroll through your phone, you read a few articles, but that draws me on to the point then of how much of that, what you're reading online, is actually believable. Fake news is a big thing now. I mean, we're covering it in Robs and Bens, you know, it's a big thing.
A lot of them sort of say there's a story. They'll fabricate the story until it becomes sort of sellable, if you will.
Yeah, and then obviously with social media, people will jump on the bandwagon. They're going to spread the word about, oh, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Like, and you just don't know what to believe. And then it was interesting as well, I think, with the whole BBC thing. Again, we in the recap video, when we spoke about that, it was sort of like the BBC is like the government mouthpiece. That phrase has been thrown around a lot, I feel. You know, so for me it was interesting because I'd never experienced. You just buy into it as a kid in the 21st century. You just buy into it, like this is what you're born and raised with.
What you're told is fact.
So you've then got to decipher that in your head and be like, well, how's that going to affect me? What am I going to do to change? Is that going to make me a better person? Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of people get tied up in that whole sort of thing. So that's that is one of the things I learned there.
I think because of that, people have lost a lot of trust in mainstream media anyway.
Right.
So more people are looking to this sort of media.
Yeah, because
for the truth, for the real stuff.
Exactly that, mate. Because it's more truthful, it's honest, it's close
Bare
to the
bones.
heart.
It doesn't take much. You don't need expensive equipment or software. We used free stuff. This was a gift. Obviously, that's not cheap. But
the software,
that's all you need.
The software was free, and I think that's probably why it didn't work to our favour and crashed on the Inika podcast. But hey,
yeah. And we could straight up lie. We could be told what to say by someone else and just straight lie to everybody. But that's not going to help us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? People will know. People won't bother listening because it's the same thing that they're hearing from mainstream media.
Yeah, it's just reiterated down the line.
I think we're done.
Yeah? Send it, man.
Thank you. And goodbye. No.
Peace out.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
I was so delayed.
Get on now.
Oh. The ambiance. The ambiance is real. No, okay, so hold on. If we just sort of, how did you get to that? You know when Rob's always like, how do you get to that state of mind? Those are the questions you get.
Yeah. What made you think that?
How do you think community media can change?
How can it change? The
world? Not the world, that's a bit vague, I feel, but
it will change the world.
I can't think of the right bloody word. Right, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. I lost it again because I'm trying to keep my fucking train of thought, man. I don't even know what I'm thinking. I don't even know what I'm thinking of, man.